Welcome back to the channel. We're going over the S&P 500, the Nasdaq 100, exactly how the stock market is moving. We got a rally today, GDP data released, and we need to explain everything happening and what to expect on the market in the coming days and weeks. Let's get right to the content. Now, there's a lot of things we need to talk about, specifically ranges that we were trading in. Now we were coming down 1, 2, 3, and then a 4 right here. And it looks like you're getting a little bit of a breakout of this trend. Now on top of this, we're coming to that supply zone right there around 404, 405. And you are sitting there to end the day. What does this mean? Where exactly are we going? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you exactly where I expect. I'm looking for the rough 415, maybe even 410 range, but about right here, that's my next key level that I'm watching. But we're going to be talking about exactly what's happening specifically when it comes to the GDP information. Now, the numbers we got released today were negative and they were not good. So we also talked about yesterday's video. If you want, go watch that video after this one if you need to. We went over specifically the Fed minutes and what was said there. And we specifically covered the strength that they saw in the markets and where they saw strength coming forward. It's important to note those Fed minutes were from the meeting roughly a month ago, the beginning of May. So what they said from this, and this is when we got this information at the end of April coming into May, was the GDP was a major miss, a negative 1.4 from a 1.1 expectation, which was over 100% on the miss side. And then you climb down again this quarter this month as well from 1.3, negative 1.3 to negative 1.5, another miss, a lot less of a miss, but still a miss nonetheless. What happened here? Now, in yesterday's video, I talked about having two back-to-back negative GDP results equals quote-unquote a recession according to a lot of investors, what they teach you in school, etc. Now, does it mean that you are guaranteed to be in a recession? No, based on factual information of the definition of a recession, but a lot of investors look to back-to-back data reports on the negative end to equal a recession. It's one of the key telltale signs. Just telling you the information that's out there. You can go look it up for yourself. Now, the important thing to know here, and I did slip up and I have to take accountability to areas that I think when I misspeak on certain things, that's per quarter, right? So this was a revision for the first quarter, and they're going to continue to update you on the quarter's GDP, right? So as we look at quarter number 4 right here, you had 6.97, 6.9 is where you ended. That was your quarter's GDP. The next quarter you came out, what was it? Previous was 6.9, you came out 1.4, 1.5. You're probably going to end somewhere in this range once again. Now, what the Fed was saying is that they see positive growth coming. So still from that thesis of what they were saying is that they saw growth coming by the end of quarter number 1. Now we can see for the whole month, because those minutes are from beginning of May, we can see it was still negative data and you came back worse. So it's showing the issue is still there. Now this leads into the second part of this video when we start talking about inflation, things like that, and what's happening and how the market's reacting to this. Yes, you're getting an upside pressure push to the upside. And once this information came out and once I saw how you are reacting from this, because it seems you're not really thinking about GDP and the actual data being released, you're looking more now at what the Fed is actually saying. So the market's running with the thesis that, yeah, you're going to dip right now on the GDP, but next quarter you'll be fine. Inflation's not even that bad. It's all from Russia. It's all from China. That's what the market's trying to tell us. That's what the Fed is trying to push down everyone's throats. So when this quarter ends and the GDP stays negative and there's a huge problem with inflation and inflation numbers continue to stack up against us, that's when we start to see probably some more blood. But until then, we're actually looking kind of strong. But let's point to where inflation is still a problem. Now I want to show you Costco's earnings report. You had a slight beat, and it's worth mentioning they have lowered these expectations exponentially. They continue to lower expectations quarter after quarter. They did have a slight beat. You can see right there, $3 estimate, came out $3.17, 1% beat. And then coming to the revenue, you had another 1.6% beat, less than $1 billion roughly right there. What is my viewpoint from this? Now, as we jump into Costco's actual earnings statement, you can read here, and they don't really give you that much information. The earnings call was lackluster. It's nothing really that good there. So you can listen to this if you want. It wasn't even worth it for me, any of these questions. But supply chain's an issue. That's the big thing. You can see the supply chain and then the logistics suppliers are an issue. And then they even went as far as to say on Costco as well, right now is not the right time to start raising those fees. So they talked about raising membership fees, but they don't want to because they don't want to hurt the consumer. And as far as competitors, Target is lowering their rates as well, which is trying to stay competitive and influence investors and individuals like yourself to continue coming to them. So it's kind of a battle of who can keep the best face and show that they're on the side of the consumer. That's where you're kind of sitting right now. So that's where I'm looking at the market and how I'm like, man, they want to raise rates because the profitability margins are getting slimmer and slimmer, but they're also struggling because they want to kind of keep business afloat with the turbulent times that are going to be coming very soon. Getting into SPY, let's break down what's happening. So you've been pushing up. Now here, I want to talk about Bookmap and show you the hidden order book before we even give you projections into tomorrow and what you need to be looking at. Because Bookmap's going to really show us what was going on today. Now in Discord, I was telling everyone I was bullish. I liked what was happening. Just basically from 10 a.m. on, I was just like, you're just going to keep running. You were just strong. End of the day, had a little bit of a double top on SPY futures, but look at CVD. So what I want to do is actually hide the iceberg order book. And I want to show you CVD, the green line here. This represents buyers versus sellers. And for the past 4 to 5 weeks, you've seen nothing but red CVD, a lot of sell pressure. Today, it's been nothing but upside. Buyers dominated the market. You saw a lot of either short covering, buyers stepping into the market. Volume was good as well. This is all indicative of a reason for this bounce and why you continue to see upside. You didn't really see any sell pressure until the end of the day on that double top right there. I think there is a little bit of uncertainty going into tomorrow with how we're going to come out. You have some inflation numbers coming out, nothing really that major, and a Fed member speaking sometime during the day. I believe it's Bullard. However, in my opinion, you're still seeing a lot of uncertainty there on the market. So that was the only actual sell-off that I saw, and you can tell by the quickness of that sell-off. So right here, you saw a little bit of a pullback, and you shot back up, pullback, shot back up. Here, immediate selling, indicative of downside right there. Now it's at the end of the day, so anything can happen on the after hours, so you got to keep your head on a swivel looking at that. Going back to the chart, looking here, the sell-off wasn't that big. Even with that big of a volume push down, buyers continue to hold you afloat. That's why it's so big when you're looking at CVD here to show you where you're at. You're very much in the positive, and you've had a massive run up with the buy side volume. That's why you're sitting at 8,500 on the CVD right now in the positive direction. So that's why you're still sitting this high from that run that you've had basically since 398 this at open all the way to roughly 407, almost 408. So from this region, what's going on? So you had a big resistance right now. And I think right now you fill that little gap that you had there from about 407, almost 408. If you can come out bullish tomorrow, if you can keep this momentum, if buyers can keep the strength, I believe you have room to push towards 415, 416 roughly in the coming week. Now, again, it's all going to be depending on how you react from this level, because right now you are somewhat getting a double top in this range. We can just highlight this area right here, and you can see you're getting somewhat of a double top, about $1 give or take that you're missing onto the upside. So I'm looking at that right there. If you can start getting above 406, 407, once again, I am in favor of an upside push. However, if you come out tomorrow showing weakness, breaking the lows around 403, 402, I'm in favor of some more downside. But then again, too, you also need to realize you have broken out of this downward channel that we have been trading in. That is worth mentioning. You broke out of this channel and you're pushing to that upside pressure, now getting somewhat of a double top. The double top is the only thing that's kind of going, but again, I definitely see the momentum that could push you going forward. Now, the Nasdaq is going to give us a pretty good look as well on what's really happening here. So continuous futures on the Nasdaq, it's really going to show you how you're moving. Going to the 1 hour time frame, you can see, look at that trend line. You ended the day right there on top of it. You can even come down, move this just a little bit to give you a better look, and you can see you're right there getting rejected currently. So again, you are not out of the woodworks. You're not quote unquote bullish yet. If you can get above this 12.25, 12.3 range, you're most likely running towards 12.5 in general, 12.6 roughly. You're going to see a nice push to that range if you can get out of this trend and start trading back to the upside. As of right now, you are in a bull flag. You're trying to get that upward pressure. It does look relatively strong, and you actually saw some decent volume along the way today as well. That is worth mentioning. You started seeing decent volume, and it kind of accumulated there towards the end of the day as well, which is something we like to see. So all in all, that wasn't bad. But again, if you get rejected here, you have to anticipate that you're going to come down in a hurry back to around 12.1, very quickly. And if you break that 12.1, you're probably coming back down towards 11.8, maybe 11.7. But you could easily lose this weakness, but it's worth mentioning you have a lot of room to spare, specifically on the Nasdaq right here, that will all act as a range of support. Because even if you come down to this area down here, you're still looking relatively strong. So you can bounce right back through. But if you come down from this range and you break below, I have to become a bear at that point and start trading towards the downside of 11.8, 11.7 in the near term future as well. So that's what I'm looking there on these two things. But going forward, you got to keep staying prepared specifically for this news as it comes out and the data, because there's going to be so much data coming out in the coming days as well. You're getting all the core PCE, you're having the Fed speak as well. Let me find her Bullard somewhere in here. So you have all these people speaking and more information regarding inflation. You can also see the reports coming in here specifically on Costco with how they were doing and how they increased revenue on gasoline based on inflated prices there. And they didn't want to highlight that because they didn't want to get a bad look, but you need to understand that that's all happening as well. So commodity prices are still increasing rapidly, which still shows the massive concern as far as inflation. And today we got some good job report data as well. So I'm not saying that you're quote unquote bullish yet, but you do look like you could have a little bit more retracement in the tank towards the upside. So right now I would be paying attention to my Twitter. I'll keep you guys updated as well on how I see us trading in the coming days as well. But I see a little bit of upside, possibly if we can just stay afloat and no new bad news coming out in the coming days or weeks.